Hello everyone, welcome to the new video of the Opening Disasters series. Today we will be looking at the game played between the young Chinese player Yangyi and the world champion Magnus Carlsen. This was a very recent game played several days ago in the tiebreaks of the Qatar Masters tournament. So basically Magnus Carlsen and Yangyi had the same amount of points, and the rules of the tournament stated that if that is the case, there should be a blitz match played between those players that have the same amount of points. So the format was 2 blitz games, and if that would be 1-1, then they would play again. In the first blitz game, Magnus Carlsen had white, and he won. So this is the second one where Yangyi is white, and he needs to win in order to assure a continuation of the match. Otherwise, Magnus Carlsen becomes the winner of the tournament. So the Chinese player opened with 1d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4. So we have Nimzo Indian defense. It is one of the weapons of the world champion. And the game continued with knight f3, b6, e3, and bishop b7. And now, even though this is still a Nimzo Indian defense, it looks like some kind of a hybrid between Queen's Indian, where usually black has this fianchetted queenside bishop, and the Nimzo. So it's a position that has some features from both of these openings. But this is all theory, and after several more moves, 7c5 was played. And now Yangyi played knight a4, a very tricky move. With this move, he is removing the knight from c3 square, and he is threatening now to attack this bishop, and then this bishop would not be able to capture on c3 because there is no more knight. Let's say black plays some unsuspecting move like knight c6. Then, after the simple a3, since there is no more knight on c3, the bishop would have to retreat, and all of a sudden black is in trouble. Nobody is defending the c5 pawn. There is a threat of trapping the bishop, so probably black would have to take in order to make some space for his bishop. But after knight c5, the bishop is hanging, b4 is coming, and on top of all that, white is a pawn up. That's why, in this position, Magnus Carlsen played c takes d4. In this manner, he opened the diagonal for his b4 bishop to retreat in case of a3. So white took, e takes d4, and now a very good move, rook e8, making f8 square free for this guy. Once he is attacked, it's much better for him to go all the way back, so maybe later this rook will be active on the e-file when it opens. So the game continued, a3, and as we mentioned, bishop f8. At this point, white has several options. This has all been played before, but he chose bishop f4. And the problem with this move is that black can give up the bishop pair, like this, bishop f3, queen f3, which Magnus Carlsen did. And usually you don't want to give up the bishop pair without any reason. But here there is a good reason, because after knight c6, this guy, is attacked, and the white has to do something about it. If he protects it with the bishop, then his bishop is going to be blocked in a way, and after something like d5, this position will not be so open, so these bishops will not have enough space to show their power. So white chose this approach to push the pawn, and now the e-file opens. And as we mentioned before, this rook e8 was actually a brilliant move because it allowed the bishop to go all the way back, and now the rook is all of a sudden in the game. And after knight e5, we can see that white will no longer have the bishop pair. The knight is attacking the queen and the bishop, and let's say he takes it, then just the rook takes, attacking the pawn, and after knight c3, there is no more bishop pair, and even though there are bishops of opposite color on the board, it's very hard to do something with this guy against the h7 square, because this f6 knight is a great protector, and it's not so clear how white is going to push that knight. The only way would be to offer the exchange of the c3 knight for it, but once that is done, then black can just put g6, fianchetto this bishop, and there is no attack for white. And if we talk about positional advantages, well, white has a pawn in the black's side of the board, on the black side of the board, but that's just not enough, and that pawn actually might become a weakness. So this would be just an even position. But Yangyi chose to keep the f4 bishop and to exchange the d3 one, so he retreated his queen. Maybe he was hoping that after this exchange, if in the future black pushes, for example, the pawn to d6, then maybe this pawn will be a target, or some light squares will be available for this guy, although it's a long road to get there, but maybe that was his idea. But there is one problem. Here it is black's turn to move, and the world champion immediately played rook e4. All of a sudden, the knight on a4 is attacked, and the bishop on f4 is attacked, and there is no way to save one of those. You can save one, but the other one is going to drop. So white is losing a piece here, and since it's not likely, it's not even possible that you will do something a piece down against the world champion, especially if you don't have any compensation for that piece, white just resigned. And therefore, Magnus Carlsen won the Qatar Masters tournament. That was it for this episode, and see you around.